The week we've all been waiting for all offseason is finally here as your Ohio State Buckeyes are set to start the college football season this Saturday against the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The excitement is big. The buzz around the game keeps getting bigger, and I can't wait to dive into what we can expect this week for your Ohio State Buckeyes right here on Locked on Buckeyes.
You are Locked on Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Buckeye fans? Welcome back to another episode of Locked on Buckeyes for the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. It is Monday, August 29th in the year 2022, and I want to thank you for making Locked on Buckeyes your first listen or first watch of every single day. On today's episode, we will discuss three players that need to be big for Ohio State in the season opener, and especially over the first few games of the season. And we'll also highlight Desmond Howard's weird prediction for what teams will make it in the playoff at the end of the year. But before we get to any of that, it's game week. You guys have no idea how long I have waited to say those words right here on the podcast. I wanted to say it so much, I want to say it again. It's game week. The season is here. We have waited all season long, through spring practice, 15 of those, through 15 more practices during fall camp, during the discussions about the transfer portal changes there, the playoff will expand, changes in NIL, the NCAA trying to crack down on things they should have cracked down on decades ago. We have gone through a really weird offseason, but it's going to be more of the same over the next few years, and probably 5, 10, 15 years down the road as well. There's all these changes to the sport that we're finally getting the ball, man. We're finally getting the football that we have all waited to watch. We're going to get the Buckeyes. We're going to get the Irish. We're going to get, unfortunately, the Wolverines are part of the party. We got Nebraska doing Nebraska things over the weekend. We got Northwestern doing a phenomenal job of playing the football on the other side of the pond over the weekend, beating the Cornhuskers. And really, Scott Frost probably should have been up out of town last year. It probably will be early this year that he gets the treatment that Clay Helton should have got the year before Clay Helton was fired, where Clay Helton got put up out of town early in his last year at USC. Scott Frost, looks like it's the same thing for you. The luxury is, I don't believe it's going to be the same thing, the same story for Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes, where you're losing a lot of close games, where you're really not showing up to play, you're not properly prepared, you're making really bad, poor coaching decisions. I don't expect those things from the Buckeyes, not just in week one against Notre Dame, but I don't expect those things for Ohio State at all throughout the season. I do think there'll be some games. There's that 5-game stretch we'll talk more about down the road that could be a little bump or an obstacle for the Buckeyes throughout this season. But I think this year could be special, man. I mean, really, really special. From the quarterback, C.J. Stroud, from the guys on the offensive line, from Travion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Cade Stover, Joe Royer, the guys on the outside, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Will he be in New York at the Heisman ceremony? That's to be determined. But if he has a year like he had last year, he just goes off, and I mean smooth off against multiple opponents, it could be a period of time where he does enough to find himself as a wide receiver in New York for the Heisman Trophy ceremony. You also got a guy, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka. This could be the year for Julian Fleming. I need to wait and see, but it sure seems like all of the talk coming out of practice, coming out of fall camp and the offseason workouts at Ohio State are setting Julian Fleming up to have the year at Ohio State people thought he would have had last year, except for injuries kind of set him back. This new revamped defense, I am here for it. I was recently on Sunday's Bets, a nationally syndicated radio show from BetQL and Odyssey Sports. And I was talking about how I need to see some things from the defense at Ohio State before I come out and say, yeah, this is going to happen from them. I do think the Buckeyes will win the Natty this year. That's also because I do believe the defense will be a whole lot better. but I still need to see some things from them before I start making some bold declarations about that side of the ball. So I have some things I want to say. I just can't say them yet because my own eyeballs need to see certain things before coming out and saying, yeah, this is going to happen, or that is going to happen. But this defense, just like the offense, the defense has some new players. We want to get players like Mike Hall and a lot of Tyler Williams, a lot of young, fresh blood will be on the D line. Will we see JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer start every game this year? I am on record numerous times saying those should be the two starting DNs at Ohio State. Zac Carris, not Zach Smith. Didn't mean to. Zac Harrison. I'm going to leave Zach Smith out of this one. I do like Zach Smith's podcast, but I'm not going to dive into Zach Smith, Ohio State's time period right now. Zac Harrison, Javonte Jean-Baptiste. What will they do in this upcoming season? Still Chambers, Tommy Eichenberg. I love what I have seen from you. But there's also guys like Reed Carrico, Chip Traynham, CJ Hicks that are chomping at the bit to simply get on the field and show the world what they can do at The Ohio State University. And then those 5 DBs. I understand there were some thoughts and there was some conversation about some injuries at Ohio State. But as it's being game week, I believe, and I do believe the reports have said that all the DBs will be healthy, ready, and accounted for this weekend. During the season opener, you have guys like Ronnie Hickman, Josh Proctor, Tanner McAllister, Cam Brown, and Denzel Burke. Denzel Burke is the youngest, might be the best of them all, and I cannot wait to see what this unit does this week because it's game week. I mean, we have waited for this. You know how it is for you. First day of school, you got your new fit, got your new shoes, you got your haircut, you got your book bags. That might be new. You got your friends you're going to see. That girl you've had your eye on for quite a while, she's going to be there looking good, just like you're trying to look good on the first day of school. This gives the same type of buzz to adults, but even bigger. It's game week. We're not even playing. Many of us listening or watching this show are not playing in the game on Saturday. There might be a coach who watches or listens. If you are, thank you so much. I really appreciate you tuning into Locked On Buckeyes. I hope the coaches are getting ready for the upcoming game. I hope they're excited. You can feel the buzz in me. I can only imagine what is going on inside the butterflies that are flying around the players over the weekend because it's game week, man. And there's something special about the start of a new season. I cannot wait to see the Buckeyes play this weekend and really give it to the Notre Dame Fighting Irish in a way that might shock the world. Coming up next, your boy has 3 players on his notepad that need to be big, not only in the season opener, but also at the beginning of the season as well. Who are these players? We'll discuss them next right here on Locked On Buckeyes. It's never okay to drive stoned. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. It's never okay to drive stoned. You put yourself and others in danger. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Do you think it's okay to drive stoned? The truth is your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Stop kidding yourself. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Are you one of those people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst that can happen? You end up driving below the speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Wrong. The truth is your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everyone around you. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding around. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay to drive high. If you've been using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. I was wondering how those want to come through, that ad read there. Drive high, get a DUI. I was trying to not laugh as I was reading that thing there, but it's true. If you feel different, you might drive different. Drive high, get a DUI. Be very careful when you get behind the wheel. So there are players at Ohio State that we expect big things from in the upcoming season. May it be some running backs. May it be some guys in the defensive back room. May it be a couple linebackers that you have your eyes on. But I got 3 players here, and I got questions about all 3 of them. I got questions about every player on the team, but only 3 could fit this segment of the show. 3 players that need to be big for Ohio State this week's game against Notre Dame, and also in the early part of the season. The first one, should be no surprise, It's QB1. We all know how pivotal C.J. Stroud is to the Ohio State Buckeyes and how he was a Heisman finalist last year, and he is the person I believe who will win the Heisman Trophy this year. I'm not trying to be a homer, just simply trying to be realistic. Stroud is set up to be a guy that can do certain things that Bryce Young can do, but Bryce Young might not do this year and might do in a bigger way than Bryce Young or any other person. You got Bijan Robinson, you got Deuce Vaughn, you got Jahmyr Gibbs, some running backs. Travion Henderson will probably be in the mix, but I still think that it is, you got Jordan Addison over there at USC. Caleb Williams do some big things out there in Southern California. I mean, you got lots of guys that are Heisman favorites right now or in the Heisman conversation, maybe even Quinn Ewers, but Stroud is the guy for me. What version of C.J. Stroud do we see at the beginning of this year? We saw at the beginning of last year, his first time as a starter, first time getting consistent play at the college football level, there were some hiccups. Now, were all those hiccups because of him? I don't think so. But I do believe some of those hiccups were a part of him and were because of the way he was playing the football at that time. And so when I think about Stroud and his consistency, the consistency that we want to see from him, the clarity of mind that we want to see from Stroud while on the field, the ability to read and react, pre-snap versus post-snap, the ability to be able to take what the defense gives you and be able to exploit those holes quickly. I firmly think Stroud is the kind of player that can make or break games, not just because of the position he plays, but that is a big reason why, but also because of the skill set that he has. I believe C.J. Stroud is a player that can make or break games for the Buckeyes in 2022. Notre Dame game, Arkansas State, Toledo, Wisconsin. In that order are the first 4 games for the Buckeyes this year. Now, you may say, Jay, Arkansas State and Toledo, those are kind of cakewalks. They should be. But those are games you expect a Heisman Trophy frontrunner or Heisman Trophy favorite at the start of the year to simply go off and to smoothly transition and move up and down the field against a defense that should not be able to stop the Buckeyes at any point during the season. So that's Stroud for you right there. I think Stroud is a guy, but what version of Stroud will we see? Will we get the Stroud that was at the beginning of the season? Or will we get Stroud and how he looked against the Utah Utes in the Rose Bowl? What we'll get from him is to be determined, but I definitely think that Stroud is a guy, and Stroud needs to perform in a way that is huge for Ohio State this year. The next player on my list is a player from offense. I can easily make it 4 players, 2 from offense, 2 from defense, but I got 3. I think you'll understand why the third person is the only one on defense that I want to touch on today. Paris Johnson Jr. Now, I understand that Paris Johnson Jr. has been working on the fundamentals of playing offensive line, but specifically the fundamentals of playing left tackle. And that makes me wonder. We saw Paris Johnson Jr. play guard last year, and he might be a guy who could play guard or tackle at the next level. He might be a guy who could end up being someone that when it comes down to versatility and his length and his size and his muscle that can really get leverage at guard at the next level or even guard at college. Honestly, I think that Paris Johnson Jr. needs to go to the outside. There were some holes like there were for every lineman last year at Ohio State when watching the film on him. But what do we get from Paris Johnson Jr. game 1? You might say, Jay, it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a cakewalk. Notre Dame should be easy. The spread is large. I don't care about what Vegas says. I don't care about none of that. You're playing a team that every year is a preseason AP top 10 team. At the end of the season, it's generally a end of the year top 10 AP team as well. So I don't care what the national media says. I don't care what the Ohio State, those that cover Ohio State consistently say about Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a good football team. Notre Dame plays good football. Notre Dame is a team that has a contract with NBC. And if they were some scrubs, NBC would have cut that deal a long time ago. Notre Dame is a good football team. Very physical up front on the O-line and the D-line. And Paris Johnson Jr. is going to be tested in a way that he may not have been tested last year. Working on the fundamentals is great, but I'm curious, watching him specifically, what are we going to get from Paris Johnson Jr.? I would not give him the same nickname that I gave Dwayne Washington Jr. a couple years ago when he was nicknamed Junior. I might call Paris Johnson Jr. PJ just for Paris Johnson during the show just to make it something that is a shortened version of his name so I can get more words in because the boy does like to talk a lot. So PJ, as I want to call him on the show. PJ, I'm watching you, buddy. I am watching you specifically. I'm going to be watching you in pass pro, watching your communication with the guard or the tight end who's to your left. I am watching you. I'm curious to see what PJ does against Notre Dame, because if he gains confidence against them, buddy, Arkansas State and Toledo, I feel sorry for you. Last but not least, one more player, Zac Carris. Now, I have already said numerous times on the show, I said on this show, I said it previously as well. I'll say it once again. I think Zac Carris should not start a game for Ohio State this year, unless there's an injury that pushes him up the depth chart. I do not think Zac Carris is a better defensive end than JT Tuimoloau, better player than JTT, and a better player than Jack Sawyer. That does not mean Zac Carris cannot be a big part of the Buckeyes this year. That does not mean that Zac Carris might not be a player that has 5 sacks in this year. That does not mean that. So I am very curious, as Ohio State will probably go back to get some sort of a rushman package this year, as your depth at D end is a whole lot better than it had been previously. Even if it's Zac Carris and Javonte Jean-Baptiste, JTT, and Jack Sawyer. As someone recently said, why do you call him JTT? Well, the name in the roster is JT Tuimoloau. Even though he's come out and said name's a little bit different, I'm going to call him JTT because until they change it in the roster in the book for Ohio State on the website, I might go ahead and keep calling him that very thing. But Zac Carris is a player that these youngsters who are more talented than him and should start every game, they're still going to be looking to Zac Carris to say, how does he conduct himself this year? How does he conduct himself when it comes to how he responds to a different role for Ohio State? Is he the kind of leader that the Buckeyes are going to be able to lean on in 2022? Is he going to be a cancer in the locker room? I don't believe he's going to be a cancer in the locker room. I don't want to think about him being a cancer in the locker room. But it is possible, because you never know how somebody is going to respond when they have a new role on a team. Guys, C.J. Stroud, Paris Johnson Jr., Zac Carris, and 3 guys that are very, very pivotal for the Buckeyes' success, not only against Notre Dame, but also against the teams that they're going to play at the beginning of the season. Who do you think is a big pivotal part of the team? Leave your comments there in the comment section there on the YouTube, or leave them on Apple. I will read those as well and possibly use one of your comments, 5-star review, of course, right there from the Apple iTunes section of the podcast world, where I will be able to use that for maybe a future segment right here on Locked On Buckeyes. Coming up next, during the first college game day show of the year, our boy, well, not our boy, Desmond Howard. Some of you like him. Some of you are despised by him because, well, he gave us his predictions for the playoff, and just like other things Desmond Howard has said as an analyst, it leaves us wondering, how in the world did you come to that conclusion? You don't want to miss the rest of this fun episode of Locked On Buckeyes. Our new sponsor, Home Field, has done some things that you will love. Home Field is a premium college football apparel brand out of Indianapolis. They provide incredibly comfortable, officially licensed apparel with vintage college designs, just like the shirt I am wearing right now. Brutus on it will fight to the end for Ohio. Their shirts are amazing. They feel soft. They feel good for you right on your skin. And Home Field has a promotion that they've been doing called Big New Saturday. They're in season 4, and they have saved their Ohio State collection for the final week. Home Field digs through the archives and history of your school to find unique logos, mascots, and moments to make thoughtful designs for your school. Their design for Ohio State is out already. It came out about a week and a half ago. The Ohio State collection has 17 pieces of apparel. In the collection, they have t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks, and they are all vintage marks. To save money, because we all want to save money right now, go to homefieldapparel.com and use the promo code LOCKEDONBuckeyes. That is correct. The name of the show is the name of the promo code, all one word. Locked On Buckeyes is a promo code. Go to homefieldapparel.com and you will save 15% at checkout. So Desmond Howard, he is somebody that has been in the public eye, somebody that has been scrutinized for some things that he has done, somebody that has left a lot of fans, not just Buckeye fans, wondering how in the world do you come to the analysis and the conclusion that you've come to after putting some things together in your head while analyzing who might be in the playoff at the end of the season. So Desmond Howard, I don't want to read everybody else's Final Four because theirs made a lot more sense. Let's just highlight the guy's Final Four that made sense to him. Now, this is very similar to me and how I view Skip Bayless when he was at ESPN and the Fox. How Skip believes the things that come out of his mouth, and Skip says some really odd, off-the-wall things where nobody really believes him. But Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, some of y'all love him, some of y'all don't like him. He says some weird things as well that are really hard to believe, but this is what happens. You get on TV. Are you prepared? Are you not prepared? You had to be because there was a graphic for what you put together. Desmond Howard's playoff bracket will leave you scratching your head. He has Texas A&M, the Aggies. He has Pittsburgh in the Final Four playing A&M. On the other side of the bracket, the Baylor Bears and the team up north. No, I could get down with the team up north being in the Final Four. I honestly have them in my Final Four as well. My Final Four is Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and the team up north. I don't think Ohio State and the team up north will end up playing each other in the playoff. I honestly think that I'll discuss more of that down the road about what I think will actually happen with those two teams. But the Aggies, Baylor, Pittsburgh, and the team up north. So you have an SEC team, you have an ACC team, you have a Big 12 team, and you have a Big 10 team. Once again, the Pac-12 is left out. That's up to their own doing because, well, they're brand of football, and they don't have the better teams this year. No one thinks you're going to have a better team than teams that are in other conferences. Some might say USC. I say, show me. Show me what you're working with so I can get behind what everyone else is saying. Because right now, your boy can't get behind the Trojans being in the Final Four at the end of the year. But Desmond, if I was talking to Desmond Howard right now, I would probably have a conversation or just ask him, how did you get to this? Hey, man, I just want to be a little bit different. Be off the wall, man. I want to be someone that maybe made you think, made you stop, make you wonder, made you go back to your analysis. When honestly, all Desmond Howard has done is really made people think and wonder, why is he on College Game Day? Heisman Trophy winner from a team a good Wolverines team, from one of the better brands in college football. So I get you want the name of the school, the prestigious trophy that he won, the phenomenal year he had, I believe it was in 1991. You want all of those things right there for game day. You want those things. But you also want somebody that can be a good piece and not analyst right there on the football. I would have no problem if ESPN said, "Hey, Desmond Howard, we know we've had a long run, but I think it's time for us to let go, part ways." We working with David Pollack. David Pollack is a good analyst. We know Pollack watches the film. He was an All-American, I think a two-time All-American during his days in the early 2000s for the Georgia Bulldogs. Hey, Pollack, go over there and take Howard's chair. We just got to kind of part ways and change things up on game day. I also wonder if they're trying to work David Pollack in to take over for Lee Corso when Corso ends up retiring from the game day. Now, many of you have said it's time for Corso to go, 87 years old. He's not been the same since he had the stroke. Was it 5-6 years ago? Maybe sooner than that. I don't think ESPN wants to get rid of Corso. He's been so much to that show specifically and the worldwide leader. I don't think that they're going to get rid of him anytime soon. So I do think it's up to really, does Howard's analysis really fit the show? Does he bring something different to the show that makes the show better? Those are things I think executives and those that are behind the scenes of that show really need to ask themselves when having him. Is his personality enough to where his analysis is not all that, but him being an analyst is there? You need to really ask yourself these things because these are all things I believe that people are going to ask themselves when trying to figure out, should Desmond Howard stay on the show or not? His Final Four, his Final Four. I will not try to say a lot of things about his opinions. I just want to say, if you're going to put something out there that's off the wall, at least make it make sense. Pittsburgh, A&M, Baylor being in the Final Four, to me, don't make any sense. Maybe Baylor, if you don't want to say two teams from the same conference will be in the Final Four this year. Okay, cool. Put Baylor there. Do I think A&M's going to win the SEC? Absolutely not. Do I think they're going to make it to the SEC championship? Absolutely not. Is there a shot for Pittsburgh to win the ACC? Absolutely. Do I think if Pittsburgh wins the ACC that they'll be one of the top 4 teams at the end of the season? Absolutely not. And even though I have Michigan in my Final Four, my playoff at the end of the year, that does not mean I think I'm going to go back on the things I said last week that the Buckeyes are going to. I still think the Buckeyes will beat the Wolverines the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I still think the Buckeyes will win the Big Ten Conference Championship game as well. 11-1 Buckeyes, 11-1 Michigan Wolverines. Who do I think the Buckeyes will lose to? It's those pesky Pitt and State and Indy Lions. That's all I'll say about that. I've been waiting to let that cat out the bag, and there it is. Guys, it's a Monday show. We're excited. It's game week, and I hope you guys are ready for a fun week right here on Locked on Buckeyes. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. You can also send all of your emails to jstevens317@gmail.com. In the meantime, make sure to check out the Locked on Big Ten podcast. Make that your second listen of the day as its host, Nate Dickinson, takes you on the Big Ten Conference with a local expert in 30 minutes every single day. Locked on Big Ten is free and available wherever you get your fine podcasts, just like Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube, on the Odyssey app, on the Apple Podcast app, on the Spotify, wherever you get your fine podcasts. Locked on Buckeyes, just like Locked on Big Ten, they're both free wherever you get your podcast every single day. It's going to be a fun week leading up to the start of the season. I hope you're subscribed and stay tuned to what's coming up later this week right here on Locked on Buckeyes.